recording on this computer, and I just want to know for sure that you all agree that you don't object against us recording the session. And if that's okay, then I want to welcome you to this session, Catalyzing Change in Turbulent Times. And it's a special session because a few weeks ago, when all this news of the pandemic started coming in, and it got, more critical and critical, in Female Wave of Change, we really thought, okay, what can we do? Nothing is business as usual, so we all have to find different ways. And knowing us, our foundation, Female Wave of Change, we said, okay, let's do things. Let's arrange things. Let's reach out, collaborate, and impact and support as many women and people in general as possible. So one thing that we that you may have seen is all sorts of webinars and dialogue sessions. Mom Yvonne, you were there yesterday's session. We've had sessions on strengthening your mental power. We've had sessions, and we will have sessions on getting through the economic impact of it all. And we also, as some of you know, have a virtual online training launched last year, 2019, Women Leading in Change. And we said all the topics of this training are so right spot on in this period of the pandemic that let's sort of present with our teachers small pieces of that just available for everyone who wants to join and who wants to see them. So that's what we're doing. We're kicking it off tonight with two of our beautiful teachers, Saskia Harkema, who is our global ambassador, and Mom Yvonne, who is a member of our Circle of Wise Women. My name is Renee van der Burg, and I'm board member of Female Wave of Change. Very proud to be here. And at this moment, I just can only welcome you. Have a great session. And I give the floor to Saskia and Mom Yvonne.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to share the screen because we made a very short presentation. Can you all see it? Yes? Okay, so I just want to show you the program. I'm not sure if I can. Yeah. So we will start with some concerns and challenges, and afterwards we will be able to introduce ourselves properly, Mom Yvonne and myself, with our stories of hope. But we want to start with kind of sketching the environment, because this is the, you could say, the framework that we are confronted with and somehow we have to do something with. And then we are going to give you the floor and to finalize with a call to action and a conclusion. To start with the concerns and challenges, I want to very clearly say, though, I'm going to show you a slide, and you might think this is all quite a grim picture that I'm drawing. But it's not really a grim picture. It's really to show what we are up against, besides, of course, the pandemic, because it's very important to understand the status quo and also the context that we are facing, because then we can also take steps to do things. So I have defined those concerns and challenges along the lines of economic factors, political, cultural, environmental, social, and technological. And economically speaking, of course, this pandemic has, I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but it's a threat, a serious threat that is going to lead to a big economic recession. And we are seeing that, I don't know, in your countries, but we are seeing that already in the Netherlands, that many companies are facing serious problems and they might go bankrupt. And I think at this stage, we don't know exactly how big the impact will be. But let's say that, okay, we are going into a recession, and that's something that we also have to somehow face and then deal with. Politically speaking, and this is something which I think is also a bit a concern, I would say, you see growing nationalism. It's understandable because nations want to protect their citizens, they want to protect their country. So you see protectionism, nationalism, closing of borders, and countries withdrawing within the boundaries of their own country to try to protect their citizens. It's an understandable development, but it also, of course, has a downside because it goes against this whole idea of a union or globalization or doing things together. Culturally speaking, this is also the effect of this growing nationalism and this growing protectionism. You see fragmentation, basically. So on the one hand, I would say, of course, what binds us is the universal human rights that we have defined together. But on the other hand, we very strongly feel we can only do this in our own way. And you can very clearly see that in also how countries each have approached this, this corona. If you look at Holland, I would say it's typical a result of our cultural background, the way that we are dealing with it. And you can see that in many different countries where, so the difference are partly explained by the cultural differences. And I would say that the measures that are being taken make this very visible. And I think this is one of the things that also is, has resulted in discussions and questions, but shouldn't we also tackle things in a global way so that we also help, for instance, the countries which have healthcare systems which are much more fragile, and also countries which have suffered, like for instance the US, massively and greatly under the influence of corona. Environmentally speaking, strangely enough, we have, of course, still climate change. It's not gone, but it becomes visible. And this is a very interesting aspect, that it becomes visible indeed that if you do nothing, if you don't have investment, massive investment in industries and cars and planes, you see how it has a very positive impact on the environment. So this is in favor, I would say, of the environmentalists, because now they will not be able to, let's say, the people denying it say, sorry, this is all theory. No, it's not theory. We can see it. We can see it everywhere in nature, how quickly it's restoring. And so this is something, of course, which also raises a question, what will we do afterwards? Because now we are kind of locked in this pandemic, but and we have no choice. But is this going to last? Well, socially speaking, and this is, I think, very, very unfortunate, and this has to do, of course, with also my work as an activist. I see that this inequality is also so visible because it's the poor that are suffering the most. If you see at the victims in the US, it's mostly the Africans and the Latin, with a Latin background, people that are dying. We've also very big groups of refugees all over the world. And though this is not really reaching the news, I'm hearing daily of corona outbreaks in asylum camps, in makeshift camps, in as people are fleeing their countries because of war. So on the one hand, you have this inequality, which becomes also visible. On the other hand, you see also a growing solidarity. You see definitely a growing solidarity. And is this something that in a sense, everything that I'm mentioning here, you can put something against it which has a positive angle? And this is what I would like to see whether we can take this positive angle and see how we can turn something which is quite negative into something positive. Well, technologically speaking, of course, there's this issue of privacy. This is a very big problem, let's be honest. So they all now want to somehow convince us that it would be great if you had this app which could follow our steps so that they can identify whom you have had contact with, so that they can kind of manage this whole corona pandemic much more closely, because they say this is not going to go away, this is going to take much longer. And if we have this app, then we can manage this more. This has so many side effects. And yeah, is this really what is necessary at this stage? You know, I mean, is this somehow the industry which is trying to convince us that this is helpful? Well, in actual fact, when you listen to the experts, they are very critical themselves. The experts that would develop these apps are saying, yeah, but is this what we need? So there is this very big issue of privacy. But on the other hand, you can say, okay, so technology offers opportunities that we maybe can tap into. So that could, maybe we can think of something else. So this is just very briefly some of the challenges that we really are facing. And yeah, partly it's a bit a grim picture, but on the other hand, I also see it as many opportunities, because you can turn it around, you can flip the coin. And let's see if in this webinar we can somehow come up with ideas how we could flip the coin. Yeah. Yes, I would now like to give Mom Yvonne the floor. We will share our story of hope, because we want to make it also personal. You know, we have to, on the one hand, know what is going on outside of the realm of our private lives, but it all starts with us. So it's very important to look, okay, what can we do? And this is why Mom Yvonne and me want to start with a personal story of hope in relation to one of the things that we've had to deal with in our lives. And then we take that, and then we go to listen to your stories. Mom Yvonne, if you would like to take the floor, please. You have to unmute. We cannot hear you.
Yes, now I was still unmuting. And I'm saying good evening and good day, everyone. Thank you for taking time, you know, to grow and develop yourself. For this is a very special weekend. We know it's Easter weekend, but if you could make that choice and give yourself time to connect with us, so we can have conversations that will take us to a great place, I think. Let me just start by sharing my story of hope, a story of courage, which in one way or the other has a relationship with what is going now. But some of you have probably heard the story that change is real. We just need to face it. At any given time in our lives, something changes. But at other times, life changes us. So in my particular journey, which is almost about 13 years ago, I had to pause as well, but from a different angle. Life changed me. I didn't even have a choice because I got sick. And when you are sick, you are not even waiting for your president to say, okay, now the shutdown is over. Now you can start doing things. You are actually locked down and know whether you will even wake up and breathe again. But what brought me here today, which is what I think needs to inspire you, it was hope. Hope that yes, things are difficult. Yes, I'm going through trials, through challenges, but you know what? This too shall pass. How so? Only if I have faith. And I like a deep faith, because when we believe, when we've got faith, even though we don't feel that way, even though we don't see positive results at the time, even though we don't hear good news, but if positive, that I believe that things will be okay. Things will turn for the better. So those are the things that Mom Yvonne focused on, and that is why I miraculously healed. But it didn't happen as fast as I wanted. So it needed two things from me. It needed my patience to wait and wait and wait. It needed perseverance. And it needed me to remember that I am not alone. Yes, I have the faith and the hope, but I needed to open my mind, to open my heart. People, and some of the people were the people I never met, and we were so different. You know, they came from different religions, different disciplines, but what really gave me the strength and the courage was to go deeper inside myself, because where I was looking for answers, things did not go my way. I was given so many messages that because of ABCD, and they were right because of what the glomus jugular tumor do if it's located on your brain stem. But yes, I heard all of that. I did 3 simple things that let me put a positive thought, and I used to chant every day that I am healed. And the second thing was, let me find moments of silence and still my mind. And the third thing was, you know, I was given tools when I was young. My parents taught us prayer, stillness, meditation, trusting life, and I went into those. But you'll be surprised that over and above that, I had fun. I had moments of joy. I listened to music. I wrote things. I conceptualized things. And I saw the brighter side of life, because what usually keeps us so anxious and so fearful is because we are focusing on that what if, what if, what if, what if, and all the bad things. And I just like her to wrap it up with a poem that came from, it's actually in one of my books, a new song. And I'd like, it is my hope that as you listen to that, because when we tell our stories, it's not because we want anyone to feel sorry for us, that we are victims, or to applaud us, to say, yeah, we are wanting you to delve deeper and find your own story, because stories do amazing things. They will take you to your pain so that you can heal it and go deeper and say what needs to be said and cry if need be, and go to the root causes of, by the way, here, what did I do as Yvonne? What caused that stroke in the first place? But it will, as you tell your story, you will feel much lighter, and you will go deeper and deeper and find those beautiful moments as well of laughter and treasures. And that is why parts of that journey was the outcome of the story that I'd like to share with you, so that as you're thinking as well, that, you know, yes, there is turmoil. Yes, there is chaos in my life. But what is this one thing that gives me joy? For me, it was a new song, a new dance. What do we do after our souls have just been through the roughest tempests? Do we manage our temper tantrums after we have just been in the biggest wave of doubt and distrust? Do we weather the toughest storms of life and remain sane afterwards? How do we rise above the harsh realities of our daily lives? When we have been forced out of our comfortable bubbles, how do we keep ourselves in balance? After having our world turned upside down, do we keep our regular and our heartbeat steady? After losing our loved ones and treasured assets, I say, start a song from the depth of your pain through to the breath of your tears. I say, dance your sorrows away as though you have come out of that unscathed. I say, compose a song and create a dance. I say, get on singing and dancing your way out of limbo. I say, like you've lost your mind, and dance like no one will ever see you again. I say, dance to the music of your inner self. Dance to the tune only your spirit can hear. Dance even when they wonder what you are singing about. When they wonder, how can you dance in this turmoil? Dance anyway, sing anyway, love anyway, rejoice anyhow. And so be it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Very beautiful. Thank you. I had to really think about what do I want to share with you that somehow can also give insights or tools that you could somehow use in your own life. And I decided to speak about also the illness that caught me totally off guard 10 years ago, because it was so similar to this corona. So when we started in this lockdown, I really had a lot of emotional troubles because I relived that period. And so this was also a virus, and it was a virus which was coming from goats, and it was called Q fever, because Q for question mark. And I remember that when that was taking place here in the Netherlands, that I was watching because it was on the news a lot. And it was similar to what was happening now. They were showing people that had caught this Q fever, and they were basically afterwards disabled. They couldn't function anymore. They were chronically ill, and they had to take medication for I don't know how long. And because there was no medication, they didn't know how to cure it. And why am I telling you this? Because I want to tell you my journey. You know what I felt. I was watching this and I thought, okay, I'm going to take all the precautions that I can so I won't get this Q fever, because it was airborne also. It was not necessarily that you had to be in contact, but it was airborne. But it was in the south of Holland, so I thought, I don't live in the south, I'm okay. But then I did get the Q fever. And I remember that when I got the news from the doctor, because they had to test me, and then I remember the doctor calling me and he said, yeah, you've got the Q fever. And I thought that, okay, this is kind of not good news. This is really not good news. Because I had this picture, you know, people were either disabled or they died, and very, very few could get better. And so how did I deal with this? Because this is the question, you know, you have something happening in your life, and then how do you deal with it? And I think that I very quickly, because I didn't know how it would go, I very quickly took the decision, whatever happens, I'm not going to become my illness. I'm going to stay me, whatever happens. If I end up disabled, or maybe I'll die, but then I am not my illness. So this was kind of the first decision that I took. And then, of course, it was also kind of this fear, because let's be honest, I think also now we feel this fear, not only for our personal well-being, but also for our loved ones. And then on top of that, this environment, everything that's happening. And so I thought, you know, fear is a very bad advisor, because fear paralyzes you. And I thought I shouldn't give in to this fear, because the moment that I do that and I paralyze myself, I literally come to a standstill. Chances are very big that I will end up disabled or die. And this was also what I remember, because I ended up in hospital, and I remember that I was lying in my bed and I felt like I'm never going to be able to get up. And I remember this nurse saying to me, whatever you do, you have to keep moving. And I looked at her, I remember that. I said, moving? I cannot even lift my arm and you are telling me to move? So I was really angry at her. And, but somehow it stuck in my head. I thought, okay, I have to keep moving. And so this is what I did. So first, you know, I could just take 10 steps, and I just kept on moving, and I kept on looking for things that made me keep going in motion. And somehow, you know, what you do is that this is literally what we're now doing, you know, the borders are defined by our homes, and you want to enlarge kind of the borders of your life. And now you have to do that yourself by taking first baby steps and then taking bigger steps. And yeah, this is, yeah, so I overcame. I overcame. I didn't get the chronic version, and it was hard work, but it taught me a very important lesson. And the most important lesson is, first of all, that you should never allow yourself to be defined by whatever illness you get. That's one. The second one is that fear is really, it's an enemy, because of fear paralyzes you. And having said that, I'm not saying it's always easy to kind of silence it, but it's crucial, because it can become an enemy. And the third one is that you always have to keep moving. You have to keep going, because while you keep going, somehow what you have to forget, and this was a very important lesson for me too, in our lives, we very much tend to be very goal-oriented. You know, we are always aiming for something. I want to reach this or that in a year's time. And I had to learn, no, forget about goals. You just live in the moment, live in the now, and just live day by day. And you will see, if you live day by day, after a while, you will look back, and then you will see, wow, you know, I walked this whole stretch. And this is what I still do. So don't ever ask me what my goal is, because I don't have a goal. I just enjoy the journey. I just walk along. and I just keep on moving. And I think this is how I also now deal with this lockdown. I have to be honest, I have very little problems with it because I'm not focused on a goal. I'm not thinking, oh, when is this gonna stop? I just take it by the day. And then, so then it's just one day and then it's another day. I'm not thinking about next month, or I don't think about that. So those are my, my lessons. Okay. And now, yeah, we hope that with these lessons, yeah, we inspired you also to share. Wait, yeah, I'm going to go. So we would like to hear also your challenges that you're facing, and yeah, how you're dealing with those challenges, because it's a very challenging time. Let's be honest. Let's not downplay that. And each one of us deals with it differently. So, how are you dealing with the challenges that you are facing? Who wants to start?
I can start if somebody has volunteered. Do you hear me?
Yes, we hear you. Yes.
Oh,
yes.
oh, I said if nobody's volunteering, I can start.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm Lori Appleby. I'm in Toronto, Canada. And I really, first of all, just want to say what you and Yvonne just said resonated so deeply with me. And I'm just really in awe that, I guess because connecting with women in different parts of the world and hearing that we're all, you know, having similar experiences and ways of moving through it, and leading. And so thank you. But for me, how I'm doing it is, so I'm a spiritual life coach, and I have a community that I, you know, that I mentor, that I'm kind of the leader, I guess. And so a lot of people are looking to me. So I felt that a strong calling to serve, to just show up and share, you know, all of what I've been, you know, I feel like I've been training for something like this. It's a interesting time. And so that's what I'm doing. But I'm also, you know, dealing with my own things that are popping up as far as that. So it's very therapeutic for me to be able to do this, to be able to support people, because it's also supporting myself. And I'm learning new ways of doing this. And I really look at this as like this, we're all, as a humanity, experience that we're, you know, given this opportunity to let go of things that weren't working and find new ways. And it is like any kind of birth, death, rebirth process. It's painful. So I feel like we're just in the middle of that right now. So I feel that just holding space and not feeling that I have to get anywhere and let's say any destination. The goals change. The goal is to be present and take it day by day. And I find when I do that, it's really helping me. When I'm trying to plan out, it's not working. That doesn't work anymore. So, so just everything that I'm learning and trying, I'm sharing with my community. And for us, it's really not. It's nothing too difficult for my own personal family. I have, you know, I have my husband and my daughter who live here, and we're able to. Like I have people to be with, and we're making it work. So it's actually giving us lots of opportunities to focus more on our health and spending quality time together, and just rethinking how we do everything. And so that's kind of where I'm at. And I know that my intuition just tells me that there's, and I think we all feel this, there's much bigger purpose going on that we are not fully aware of. So we just have to keep taking it day by day. And if this is also giving me an opportunity to explore things that I was really, I guess, scared of doing, which was expressing myself through sound, through music, through singing, through dancing. And there was no mistake that Yvonne, you said that, and it just, I had so much emotion come to me, so it was another reminder to channel that, the fear and the pain and all that through dance. So because it's something I've just taken, I started taking a music course at the beginning of March to help me. It's just a childhood belief of, that I'm working through, and it always does bring me joy. So if there's many beautiful things I can see, but then as a bigger picture, I'm just part of helping people, humanity, to move through this and come out better on the other side. And so that's what I'll think.
Yeah, Tanya, you have to unmute yourself, Tanya.
Barsha, would you like to go?
So basically, I have been in my career where I find my new career. So I'm mostly staying at home, and so this situation give me and like my husband also could just for 2 weeks, and we had good times. So but I had a fear in my mind that my family are all around the world, and I'm always scared if something happens in this place, because I hear news every day from every place, everything, and so many people are affected, and I'm scared that something will happen to my family or everyone around, and this scares me a lot. But now after this many weeks, I have realized that I don't have to be in fear at the time, and so I focus on writing. I express more through my writing in my blog, and I try to be more in. I try to be more in touch with people and try to learn more things. And yeah, this to make this time useful. Also, I know it's difficult for so many people, for all the people around, but what we can do for ourselves is, if we are in peace and if we are in health, then everything is health and everything is good for everyone. So first step is to take care of ourselves, and then also think about others. Yeah, just thinking about the situation right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I wanted to be today with you. Yeah, I want to thank you, Saskia, and Yvonne, how you've managed to combine the micro and macro world with your stories and perspective on what's going on, or how we can see it. So that's how I entered, so that I allow myself to be impacted, like always. But what came out, I don't know. I know it's scary in a way from many perspectives, but for me, these like challenging times seems pretty normal in a way, because we are more bringing the humanity out of it, whatever that is. And I feel more safe in this kind of environment, to be honest, and it brings me more hope in the humanity, because I just talked with my client before entering here. It was just a talk, because she said, I cannot do coaching now, but I really want to talk with you. So we just went through, and we exchanged it, how nice we are all to each other in a way, how thoughtful in making like a good service for each and everyone in whatever function we are, or role, how practical. Usually we complicate, it's not possible, no, we do this like this and this and this, and now we're just open and we find a way how to do it. So my wish in a way, and hope, how we can through this time integrate it already in ourselves, so we cannot go back in time, but take it with us. And what came up when you shared story, it was the time, it was 6 months before my dad passed away. It was instantly, we thought that, I mean, my mom thought that they have another 30 years because he promised that he'll retire and then he's all hers. Because previously he had this kind of job that he was with Slovenia or all the time in the work with 2 jobs. But then 6 months before, I needed to finish my PhD because I was studying like for 6 years, like I've done all obligations or studying, but then they said, you need to finish it in 6 months. And I said, I'm not going to do it because I worked so much during the week because I was Director General at that point in urban development. And then I would need to work all weekends and not doing anything with loved ones or for myself. And I said, I don't want to do it. I've already done the study. That's my education. So that was one of the best decisions that I've done in a way. But then my dad passed away. But during these 6 months, I used to spend one day at the weekend with my parents in a way, either doing walks or just talking or something. So in a way, we had this time together we would otherwise not have. And when he passed away, people would say, because they were all in shock, right? He was healthy. I mean, he wasn't healthy 15 years before, but then he was when he passed away. And he was so present that people couldn't believe. But then they said, oh, how sad. He would need to be at least 1 more year or 1 more something to experience retirement. But then for us, family, right, it was, 30 years or this day, right? He couldn't give it more. So my thinking or what came up when you were sharing, in a way we are guided if we follow, and we are prepared for the next step, I think, if we don't fight what the life brings. So it empowers us for the next step. So I also see this time when Marta, she's one of us, but she's also my close friend, and I felt so close with her that her mom passed away in Brazil. So on the other side, she's connected with her, but she doesn't have this luxury now to say goodbye in the way we used to say to our loved ones when they pass away. But then I thought, I found my dad when he passed away, and I wouldn't do it anyway differently. You're never prepared for these kind of things, but you never know, right? So I think we don't know. We just act like we know what life brings. But I think we are more strong than we think. So for me, these times or any challenging times, that's why I admire so much how you share the stories, because it shows that we go through challenging times all the time. And we just act that we have it all together when we need to work, when we need to meet a client, when we need to succeed, to have a goals, or I don't know, parents don't want to show sad face to children. But it's human that we are not all the time all together, or that we have all emotions and that we go through. And if we go through, I think this is important also for how we could learn for new times. Because how also the structure of female wave of change is done, right? Is the circle of wise women. So in a way, it's like the circle when the wisdom are shared in whatever way, but then also shared stories from day to day, and what you can learn from it and how we can support each other. So I think people now doing this and they feel good. So why don't we keep it in a way embed in our society? Because we cannot demand that from politicians. I'm so grateful that I followed my calling in a way. I've completed that. But now I'm so happy that I'm not there because I can do so much more. But previously I was happy doing that. So how we can keep these things that are now bringing up the best in us, and as a society build a structure that support us going through these challenges, whatever they are. Because in a way we have good systems, a lot of social service, and yet many people commit suicide. Many people say that they feel lonely. Many people are not satisfied in families. Something's not working, right? So we don't feel safe in the society or communities. So I think our role, how we can take what's emerging now, how we are connecting, how we are able to share with strangers in a way, and how we can get used to it, to share also in normal times, whatever that is. So you brought that up. So I don't know how it all came together, but that's how it flowed.
Yeah. It's interesting that you mentioned this feeling of safety, because that's what it's about, I think. Strangely enough, that we don't feel safe because we feel kind of fearful of this virus, but on the other hand, we do feel safe because we can retreat to the space where we feel most safe. So why don't we do that? Yeah, on a daily basis, enjoy much more that safe space instead of always running around going to places to get away from that place. I really also had to think about that. Yeah, because it's, in a sense, I mentioned this, I find it so moving, you know, how nature is, you see all these ducks walking in the city, and I mean, it's moving, and it's also kind of confronting. It shows us, my goodness, today it was in the news, we have a zoo, and I think in 10 years time the pandas had not made it together, and now they're, you know, nobody's going there, and for the first time in 10 years, can you imagine how unsafe they feel? This is devastating. So it's teaching us a lesson in respect for all living creatures. This is what it's, for me, that's the lesson that I'm learning. And how can we hold on to that respect for all living creatures? Yeah. So is there something which you feel very strongly about at this stage, which you would like to turn into some kind of action or movement?
I mean, it made me think of this, how we have it in the female way, we change these circles of change with call of action at the end. So it's not complaining, not just talking, because it doesn't catch the energy and it doesn't empower us and it doesn't bring change. So I think it needs to be structured, facilitated, guided, but then step by step, taking it further. And the second part, how I see it being before in public policy and expert in that, how we can really, people, how we are doing it now, we complement the formal systems, and that's the right way to do it. I mean, we challenge the formal system. I mean, at least in our case, also social media helps a lot because people get a lot of information, we gather around, and then just in a way, voices are stronger. We are against this is not democracy, this is this, we want to talk about it, we are for that. So I think in a way it brings up the active citizenship, which is, you cannot force it. You want to have it when you're in government, but then it doesn't happen because people just say, take care of it, we pay you for that, right? So I think it brings out that. So, but we need to support it. There needs to be a need that we are active all the time as citizens. So I think this social space in between that we are all co-creating, it's so important, and now we are all aware of it because we are in homes and we know that all the spaces in between are social. That's our common space and in between space, and we're all responsible for it. That's why, because of the corona threat, we are indoors, not there. So I think it could be good imagery where we are responsible and how you could act in there and be an active part of the society. So if we can catch that wave now during this time and then educate ourselves what's going on, how we can go step by step further. And I think at the old days, the system was exactly like that. Those wise and old generations around, they sat around to see what's going on and what we can do. So I think we could go back to basics on that part, but then use all the knowledge and all the technology that could help us to be as fast as possible with some changes, because we don't have time for some things. And for the nature, I think now it's great that we've stop our behavior that is not good to nature, but immediately that will be released. Right? We are like animals in a way. So we are not changing the behavior. So here we need technology, I think, to develop new, better approaches to be more sustainable. So I think new choices and new decisions where to use human perspective, when to use the technology, intelligence, because that should be the level of our civilization's development, I think. I mean, that's just my thinking. So for me, it's just a lot of rethinking. And I think it's good timing to do so, because when we're again in action, we won't have time to rethink. I mean, at least we won't take it to do some good thinking. We can do the thinking now and then go to action. That would be my forward.
Can I add something? Because I had a discussion earlier today on, so now we're in this intelligence lockdown, and everyone says, yeah, it's necessary, but we had some cautious positive news in the Netherlands this week. And it seems that you already see people sort of going out a little bit less with caution, less, taking care of everything. So I had the discussion this afternoon, like, how can we keep what's good out of this period? The things that you also mentioned, Saskia, the things that you mentioned, Tanya. So we have impact, but we have opportunity, and we have good things. We see nature, the air is cleaner, all the things that we've mentioned. Humans are not always so easy to change. So how can we make sure that when everything is sort of normal again, won't go back to that behavior that we will fly again and we will travel again and be busy again? And yeah, because human nature is in effect not so easy in terms of accepting these changes. Now it's sort of, we have to, and we do it, and some parts we enjoy.
I think what's really important, because for now this is still the dominant narrative, the back to normal narrative. This is what even these politicians we will go back to normal. And well, what's normal? And I think we have to
back to normal again.
Yeah, I think we have to sketch a new perspective, a new horizon. Mm-hmm. This is something which also Female Wave of Change could do. Because if you draw this new horizon, then people will be drawn to that horizon. They will say, oh, that horizon, reminds me of what brought us into this. But they don't have this new horizon yet. And I think this is where we could. And I don't know, maybe you know about it, Mom Yvonne, because I'm studying that a lot at the moment. But I read about, because this took place in South Africa. They are now exploring, it's called Architectures for Peace. And it was initiated by Mandela because he wanted to avoid a civil war, and he wanted to bring people together. And this now is being implemented in some African countries, but they want to scale this up because this is, what we need. You could say the driver of what we do should be peace, and then in second instance, growth and blah blah blah. But this has to be our driver. So I'm very interested in this idea, because then you can create that as an horizon. Let's all work towards peace, and let's all work towards sustainability. Let's all work towards, instead of let's go back to normal, because it was not normal. That's why we are all locked down now. So it was not normal.
Yeah, from my side, I think whether it's in South Africa or us as individuals, as families, we are in a good space because we are aware. We are aware what is happening around us and within us. So for me, the next step will be, we need to accept that. We go to self-acceptance, then we rise above this adversity that we all know and look at the lessons that we learned during the stage. How did it feel to stay home, There isn't so much movement. You can only just go get food and all of that. And you've got family members, friends, and other people who are also going through this pain, but you can't be together. You can support each other. So what for me came out of that creativity to say, yes, we are all stuck in one place. How can we use, for instance, the power of technology, which is what we're doing now? And we paid attention to say what is announcing itself in this process. And for me, it was about are we all on the same page? How are we doing with the uplifting the people who need support? What about the poor? What about the people in squatter camps? When you're sleeping with 7 people in a shack, and how do you social distance yourself?
Yeah.
How do you do hygiene when you have to share, say, maybe a bathroom with 20 people who are in the same surrounding? If you don't have a fridge, how do you stock the food? And if you can't stay one place, you have to go and buy things there. So it said a lot also about our state of mind, our attitudes, and our behavior, because we all watched how people, as soon as they heard about the lockdown, how they behaved in supermarkets. Are you still your sister's keeper and your brother's keeper if you're taking all the toilet paper that is around available, if you're taking all the sanitizers, and then I will all the other people? So we need to emerge, in my view, out of all of this by searching deeply about how far we have gone, with alleviating poverty and just living a good life, a balanced life, and being there for what has happened to service, what has happened to unity. We can even look amongst ourselves here at how do you feel when you are asked to participate, because in many ways it just evoked a whole lot of things, whether it's our behavior, our actions, what do we eat, what do we do with our time. If you may ask me that, what will change in my life after all of this? I thought about it. It wasn't easy, it was difficult, but I think I need to go back to living a simple life, because we complicate things, and also to value time. We have seen that when we have time to yourself and to detach from things, we sometimes forget that we are human beings, not human doings. And we all running, accumulating things that we don't need. How does it feel when you go to the supermarket and they've closed all the other sections? You just take what you need for sustaining yourself. So it's things like that, and it has given me 3 things that I'm taking with, which is, what are the new things that I've learned that I need to continue to learn? And I have learned that we are bad news to the environment. Look how the animals are breathing fresh. Look at the sea. And look at our bodies, how they are just clapping hands. That's it. Oh, at once you can make me sleep for 8 hours. At once you can sit down. So I would learn, you take all those lessons, and then you remember that, oh, by the way, I have a family. And you open your cupboards or your fridge or your wardrobe, and you realize, oh, there's this too. And because we're not present and we're not paying attention. And the second thing that I would take with me is that, there are a lot of things that I need to unlearn that are not serving me. And I've mentioned some of them, like, you know, getting unnecessary things, wasting time, sweating mundane stuff, and, you know, not focusing on doing the right things, forgetting who we are and why we are here. So things that block that in my journey, I think I will have just to teach them. But I've realized that I have lost great things that work for me, that I've learned in the past, either from my parents or my grandparents, the ancient wisdom. So I'll have to relearn them. Wasn't it lovely when we attended sessions and we reminded that lemon and ginger and honey and hot water is good? And we reminded that washing your hands is the right thing to do. And keep clean, take your bath, you know, twice a day if you can. And if you've been outside there and you think that maybe things are not okay, wash your things, clean your, those are all the basic things, like you said earlier on, Tanya, that's, you know, life is just taking back, it's taking us back to what humanity is all about. And what I'm thinking about is also the nature and the environment, that how much gas our cars fumigate. And you look at the traffic, do we all need to work in our offices? Do we need, what's the point when you're gonna be on traffic for 2 hours? And 2 hours back, you've wasted 4 hours there. And so it's those simple things. And for me, you know what I love, the big thing is service. Serving yourself, serving others. Now we've realized that, yes, the elderly also need their support. We've seen what happens in child-headed homes, and we never even think about those children who don't have parents. We have seen what happens to people who have little income, and when you say to them, stay for a month, and what we're gonna do if they are paid on a day-to-day basis. So I think it will take us back to socio-economic development, to community development, to those kind of things. Yeah. That's just what I feel, and that there's a lot of clutter. We're hearing it so much, and there's also, that's something that crossed my mind. It was about social media and its impact, as well as the information overload that we're getting. So I worry about the young generation that, you know, they just Google things. When is the thinking and the creation happening? And then everybody just wants this like, but what's happening on the ground? Because what really gives me joy is when I've gone on the ground and can deliver something that is tangible and see, you know, through all of this, I have shifted consciousness in someone. I have extended my hand to those who need. I have uplifted the sick. I have given hope and faith to those who are losing their loved ones, and so on. And then how do you then, especially forums like this, women in leadership, and how do you also make that those campaigns that happen on social media are official, and that's so that people don't also just seek instant gratification, that, oh, it's like, and then it's okay. I like working with small numbers anyway, because what matters is who has become great, whose potential has been unleashed, whose life has changed because of my interaction with them. and then the follow-up as well, because after you've had those 1,000 likes, then what's the next step? Is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I say also, like, to complement what you're saying, and this goes back to this catalyzing change in turbulent times, and becoming from the women being part of female wave of change, kind of leading the way. I think we also have to be very compassionate about all those people that do live in fear, because even, you know, the people that decided to buy food for a month, it's not out of malice that they did that. It's because of fear. And I think many people live in fear. This is why I told my story, because it's fear that also makes people somehow, that's how you become a follower instead of taking charge of your own life. This is how politicians are able to gather large crowds of people behind ideologies and ideas, because they know that people live in fear, and then they don't have to think, they just follow on what a leader is saying and on his or her ideas. So I think if we acknowledge the fear, we allow it, we say it's okay, you know, it's okay that that you are fearful, and again we give an alternative, we offer an horizon, then people will maybe let go of their fear. Because if you don't offer anything, and it should not be this ideology promising all kinds of things which are not realized, but making people feel that they can also achieve things, however small it is, and that it's big even if it's small, then people start to take charge instead of just becoming sheep, I call them, following the herd.
So what did help me a lot again this period is so the one thing that I always have felt very strong about is that everyone can have an influence and impact on a life at the time that you encounter each other, so that even if it's only you are not even aware about it, you may impact hopefully positively others. So on your point, even if it's small or just one person, it will happen. So that is very powerful for me to step into things or to act or to step over my fear, which I also have. And the other thing which came to me very strongly this period is the circle of influence principle. You know, that thing like, okay, you can worry about a lot of things, but if you cannot influence them, it is just wasted energy. So focus on those things that you can influence. And that has helped me also quite good in the past weeks, again, to focus with Female Wave of Change, with my other activities on things. Okay, we can organize these sessions. We can bring women together. Yesterday we had this great session with also Mom Yvonne was present and more women, and this one woman shared a poem, and the last sentence just spoke to many of us, Mom Yvonne, and it was, "We are the ones we have been waiting for." So it's not, you know, other people, or we have to find it ourselves, and we can do it. We are powerful. We have that power in ourselves. We have to combine it, collaborate, and, you know, go together. So these are all things that make me quite optimistic and positive, although still it's maybe unsettling where we are in. And I think that's what we can do with Female Wave of Change in these times. So that has been helping me.
I agree with you 100%, Saskia and Renee, that, you know, the best thing we can do is to awaken that inner power inside of us, because we've got everything we need. As you say, we are this change that we've been waiting for. But the reality is that a lot of us are fearful. So that is why these stories of courage are important. Like when you listen to Saskia, that's when you were between life and death. What gave you the courage? Yes, we had the fear, things were uncertain. So if we can just, I think, moving forward, that's what I think people need to go that route. But also, isn't it this with all our certificates and this and that grounded in our homes? Who was serving us actually? Isn't it those people who we sometimes don't even greet or say hello at the supermarket? And because unfortunately, they had to continue because we need food. Food is life. What about those people who are cleaning at the hospital, that maybe even when we are admitted there, you even forget to say, thank you that you're washing these blankets for me, that you're cleaning this ward. But they can't stay. They can't be locked now. They have to be out there. For me, that's what humbled me, that we need to understand that we all have a very big role to play. And you mentioned it earlier on, Saskia, that no matter small or big, and this for me was just a humbling thing when you're looking at those people. Look at, in our country, the police, air force, they need to work 24/7, and it's all in our lap. So that thing that let us unite, we need each other. Let us embrace each other, because it doesn't matter small or important. So maybe the new age is leading without a title, because we are all leaders in our own right, in our own space, and accepting each other just the way we are. That will take us a long way.
Can I just, I know that Barsha will jump in, but just if I can, I mean, how you said, Saskia and also Mom Yvonne, I mean, these words are so big, right? And broad, like acceptance and compassion. So for me, this timing is also to rethink the words that we use in a way, because they create a space, not divide us, but it's that space that we, in a way, need to respect and appreciate between us and among us. And I think acceptance is like the biggest one, and because we struggle with accepting ourselves, nevertheless the others. So in a way, we need to be very much compassionate to ourselves and also then to others. So, and the other thing that Saskia often reminds me, and Sadet, when we talk about what you're doing, it's changing the narrative, because we usually say we need to empower ourselves. You have power in you. I mean, I like these words anyway. I feel it, right? I just go with it and I bring it in. But like you said, not many feel it in that way. But we are already living it as much as we can. So I think the shift in narrative should be, we are doing the best that we can, but how can we do it better? Right? How you can do it better. So be afraid, but one step, stretch, stretch, stretch. So I think we need to start talking differently, encouraging that we're already having the dialogue, not preparing for the dialogue and solutions. Like exchanging, we are in it with all the fears, with all, I don't know, whatever. So I think we need to practice this kind of communication and staying in it, and then guiding towards, I don't know, further on. So just to reflect on that, I mean, the need to add.
For me, it makes perfect sense, Tanya, because communication is key, and it's got to be simple. We need to hear each other. And that is why we need to also look at those vehicles that, you know, unite us. When you look at our history, for instance, in the country, even though it was multiracial and cross-age, but they used, things that focused us, like a song, for instance. And there was just this chant that power is ours. So it was simple for me as a child to know that I need to go to school because power is ours. Then we will have one day a free thing. So maybe let's just, I like what you're saying, because as you're saying it, what crosses my mind is, who are we talking to and who's hearing us? And if they do hear us, what happens? Yeah, so it's gonna be, because also, let's say, get rid of the tendencies that steer people away. So, for instance, that people who have gone through our journey, where the left brain is no longer either in that state that it was, which means memory is not 100% in. So you might find that things that you have learned, you've lost them. I don't know how many times there would people follow me to say, is she really a graduate? Was she really a teacher? Did she really teach those? And it just makes me laugh, because it's what do we value and where do we pay attention to? Because I've visited so many countries, and that's why I got so surprised that actually English and speaking it's a British English wasn't necessary at all. I remember in Germany where I was trying to ask for something in Germany, and they'll say, oh mooi gezegd. They're not interested in what I'm saying in English. In China, I said, I'd like English breakfast tea, and I had to be told that this is not British. So I should have even used my home language. So for us, I think as Africans, it's a wake-up call that we need to go back to our indigenous languages, because that's where there is power. There's even things that people have never heard about. So it raises lots of thinking, but also of good ideas that moving forward, how do we bring that unity, and how do we make sure that as leaders, someone is following us and someone is understanding us and doing what needs to be done. But no one will if they are stuck with communication. So that's an awakening thing to reshape the future.
Yeah. Saskia, do you want to say something, or Laurie? Do you want to say something?
So I want to just share my experience in the beginning. Something was happening. So first few days we were completely locked down in the house, and I was so scared, and I felt like this is going to be the end. I don't know what tomorrow is. So I was like completely panicking with my husband. I was just trying to tell him that what's gonna happen. And then what happened was we just got sick, like just the flu. And I felt like that time I felt like, okay, I already have a virus. And that feeling gave me the strength, that okay, even if it has happened to me, it's okay, it's happened, and it's not gonna happen tomorrow. It's done, and this gave me a power and sense of strength that okay, it's not a big deal, so I can handle it. Even if it comes, then it's okay. And I also feel that this is like we are in earth, we are humans, and we all have purpose in this world, and people are scared that we all might die, but this is not happening. This is just that has come to make us realize that we are precious beings. Everyone is precious. every animal or every human being is precious, and this is not the end, but it's just a reminder that there is something above us that can control us, and we humans are not the greatest, but we are also not the least. This feeling came into my mind, and I could understand the happening around, and this gave me more power to understand it. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Laurie, would you like to have a final word, because we are a bit over our time?
Yeah, it was a great discussion, and I think we are just in, like, I don't really have a lot of new things to say. You all said it so well, but we're in a way of creating a new normal, and I think there are so many things in the world that have been not conducive to our best interest, and I think that you know, just coming together, having new ideas, people you know, joining forces and sharing new ways, and what can we bring those positive aspects into this new normal that we're going to be in. So I think it's really important, and to keep having these discussions, and encouraging those around us to think outside of that box too.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you all. Yes, we are 25 minutes over time.
Doesn't matter. The discussion was great.
So yeah,
Why
so
we're here.
many insights, really an inspiration.
Yeah, I think I want to thank the ones who are in the call and sharing their thoughts, and just participating and listening to each other. It was a good quality group, and I think I want to ask whether you are still okay if we upload, because we also discussed quite some personal things. So I really want to make sure that, because if any of us doesn't feel comfortable about that, let's just make that clear. You don't have to do it now, but just let me know, because we won't upload unless everyone is cool with that. And then, of course, finally, I want to thank Mom Yvonne and Saskia. I think you brought so much holistic perspective in terms of the macro image that you shared, Saskia, at the start, and then the stories that you both shared. I think it was very good that we saw also practical things in terms of what are my lessons, and we could share those with each other. So I would encourage you to think after this call, after we close the call, to just write a couple of your takeaways, just to benefit even more of the call. And so now I know we're not only creating waves, but we're creating a new horizon. So let's close the call with that. Thank you very much, and look forward to a next session, Reshape the Future, Women Leading in Change. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. Thanks to
Thank you.
Renee, as well. Thanks to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And enjoy your weekend.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Renee, I'm
Thank
okay
you,
with
love.
sharing. So, I mean,
Thank you.
everything
Love
is
you.
already up in the air. So my dad is already omnipresent. So he
That's
cannot
great.
be more